G'day Aussie Gridiron fans. Welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, an Australian NFL podcast brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. It is post-2026 draft and we're all kind of on a come down from the excitement of the draft weekend and of course our Draftapalooza last week, which was a huge hit. Thank you very much to everybody that actually listened the entire way through that 2 hours of nonsense. We very much appreciate it, but we are back. We decided not to do a first round reaction because we thought we'd come back after the weekend and just have a chat about the entirety of the draft and do it our way. We figured by now you might be, or by that point on Friday, everyone would have been over the draft. So we'll just come back now. I've got Nick and Brad with me. Unfortunately, Isaac couldn't be with us this evening, which is very unfortunate actually, because I was really looking forward to some reactions, Brad, from Isaac about the a certain Rams pick at 13.
Oh yes, we could only hope. I wish I could have been a fly on his wall when he heard that pick, because you watch everybody else and it was just like oh. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen a real Rams fan.
I've got some messages from him, but it's like I think it probably pales in comparison to probably what came out of his mouth when they read that pick out.
yeah. It would have been epic. But we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to that pick. But yeah, it overall I thought the draft was it was kind of a draft. You know, it didn't have a ton of excitement or anything, and it was just kind of ho hum, really, to be honest with you.
How did you find it, Nick?
Well, a bit similar to Brett. Well, I think it's because after this first sort of pick, we're like, okay, now the draft starts. Yeah. Then, David Bay went to the Jets at 2, and then, Love went to the Cardinals. Like, okay, here we go. Here's, where it all sort of shapes up. And then Tate went at 4. And then it just sort of, I don't know, apart from then the Chiefs trading up, it all just sort of went in terms of the players-wise, how we sort of expected. The team shuffled around. There was a lot of trades, which was all right. But, yeah, I suppose after the first couple of picks, it was pretty much, we expected the players to go where they sort of went after a few picks. So
I think I
still enjoyed it.
I think when we got the first couple of surprises, after that for me, I was like, okay. So every pick was like a genuine surprise for me after that, because it was like, who's actually going to go here now? Because it just started not shaping up like anybody had thought. Yes, the top end, you could argue that there were some people out there who thought 1 through 4, that's the way it was going to go. Once the Chiefs traded in and then the Browns traded back up, I was like, whoa, what's going on in this world? And then we get the other trades with the whole debacle with the Cowboys and the Eagles and all that sort of stuff that went on. And yeah, to me, that I think it generated a fair bit of excitement. It wasn't until later where I kind of tuned out a little bit. It was still on there in the background, and obviously we're trying to work on a Friday as well, so that's a hard part about the draft in Australia, especially the first round. And then Saturday and Sunday, you're always kind of, I feel like, because Saturday and Sunday you're doing things and it starts at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. By the time you realise, oh, hang on, the draft's on, and you get on and you start scrolling through, the picks are smashing through so quickly.
It was a lot faster this year.
Yeah.
They went to...
oh, how do I get into this? Oh, someone's picked that player, and I start trying to look up, like, who is that player? That's a really interesting pick. And then by the time I've done that, they're 4 picks on from there, and like, oh, crap, I've got to catch up again, So
that, having that, it was 2 less minutes per draft, so 8 minutes instead of 10 minutes. But the majority of teams didn't take the full 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the NFL said to them, but it was, because the whole first round was like 3 hours. That is like the fastest
3:15
first round.
Is the first. It's 3:15 in total.
Okay.
Is what they had. So that's the fastest first round of the draft that they've had for a long time. Obviously that. Way back in the day where you used to just sit, everyone sat in a room with all 32 GMs. Yeah. They all went, like that was a lot quicker. But they were pretty random picks back then. That's when you pick the kicker in the first round, that kind of dumb stuff. But, But it was really fast, and it did annoy me quite a lot though when we're at a point where they're on the TV copy, because we're purposely, the boys, we all said we weren't into tipping picks this year. We weren't going to sit on X and see who'd picked who and get ahead of the TV, because we really wanted to watch the actual TV broadcast. But at points they're already going, oh, that team's already picked. That team's picked. Yeah. Oh, we're 4 picks behind, and I'm screaming at TV. You go, can we stop playing these meaningless graphics packages then, please, and just make the goddamn picks? Let's get caught up. You've either got to, to me, it's like, if that's happening, you need to tell the teams to woo up a bit because you're ruining the whole spectacle, or you just go with it.
It was interesting. It kind of shows you what a loser I am. But I actually watched the ESPN version and the NFL draft version. The NFL Network version.
Were they much different, Brad?
I actually, for the first time, I'd done that in bits and pieces. This is the first time where I watched, for the majority of the first round with both networks. And I actually liked the NFL Network better than the ESPN for the first time. I thought that they just did a good job. Rich Eisen and stuff. I thought they.
Well, the network one was the feed that was on DAZN. So that's the one we had. I really like Rich Eisen. In doing things like that. I think that guy's made for that kind of thing, like the draft and the combine, where you just you're commentating an event that's going on, rather than a game. I really like him being that presenter. He's kind of like to us in Australia, the Bruce McInerney of like the NFL.
Yeah, I could see
that a bit more. Yeah,
I could see that. He's definitely kind of because he started with the NFL Network from day one. He came over from ESPN, and he's just built for that. But hats off to Pittsburgh. As much as I hate saying it, man, can you believe friggin' 800,000 people? 800,000 people went to the draft. To really, I've been to an NBA draft. I went to Shaq's draft when Shaq went number 1. It's not that exciting. So.
Well, I was actually going to ask that question to you, Brad. As nerdy as we are for these drafts,
right,
and just the process of the picks and the teams doing these things, we don't sort of get into. You get a bit more into the college game than the rest of us, but it's still not like a huge deep dive like other guys do. Would you want to go to a draft and be in that place?
I definitely would, for the experience, especially now that I can go to a bar. And let's just face it, majority of it is a big booze fest. But I think the NFL does a great job of just creating a cool atmosphere. And it would be awesome to be one of these fans that does get up close and that type of thing. Just for the whole experience. It's like tailgating for college football. Tailgating is awesome, and until you've done it, you just don't realize how cool it is just to be in a community of people that are super passionate about football. And the majority of them are idiots, but still, for those 3 hours, 4 hours, you can kind of just put aside all that other crap and just have fun rooting for the game.
I was going to say it's probably you're right. It is a lot bigger in the NFL because the NBA really they have the playoffs, they have the finals, and a week later the draft's on. Whereas the NFL's got a bit more time to build up to it. So we sort of have. So. Yeah, it's great how they get so many numbers there.
It's phenomenal. Where is it next year? Do we know?
Well, I was just going to say next year is in Washington, in DC, in front of the Capitol.
Oh, that will be really.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be cool.
It's the Donald Trump draft.
Trump's going to be announcing all the picks.
Oh,
with the first pick.
Please.
Just great guy, really good player.
I told Jeremiah, you're going to catch the ball.
With the first pick for the Browns. 2027 NFL draft. Really good looking guy.
Arch Manning, he's going to take him to the Super Bowl.
I could get past him.
Yeah.
New York Jets select bad team, bad team.
We all know I would have been the number 1 pick if I would have played.
Yeah, our Trump impersonations are terrible, but that was great. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to go.
Oh, yeah.
NFL. Let's NFL AU. Let's get us to the draft. Let's get G'day Gridiron to the draft.
Yes. We are there. We are there.
I don't even need to be a fan of the year like Adrian or Seahawk Sam were. Like, just get us there. Like, let's go.
Well, I promise to pump you. Not that.
Excuse me.
Whatever.
Let's start again.
Yeah, I promise to promote you.
You've at least got to buy me a drink before you do that, Brad.
Jeez. Oh, yes. So how about those Bears? All right, first round pick.
All right. How about we go through the first round? Let's go through the first round. We'll get some thoughts from you guys on this first round of the draft this year. I'll go through the first 5, of course. So the Raiders took Fernando Mendoza, number 1 overall. And then we had David Bailey to the Jets, which was, I think, in the end, the correct pick, and everyone had done that. Then Jeremiah Love to the Cardinals. The Cardinals decided to choose the running back instead of the linebacker.
I felt like that was the first curveball. At least that's the one where the announcers and stuff were like, because it was just so obvious they had so many other needs. And I was texting with some other guys about it, and it's just like, you don't build your team through the running back position. I understand you want to be electric and all this and that, but I felt like that was more a team from a GM who's trying to save his job than it was from a GM who's trying to build a program.
I wonder, Brad, if this seems like seems like an owner pick. Like, you come in over the top, that guy. I want that guy, because this seems like we can sell a lot of jerseys and we can get a lot of bums on seats with that guy. Kind of.
Yeah,
I know. I would agree.
Otherwise, the GM pick would have been, Alvaro Reese. Easy enough.
That's what it should have been. Absolutely. Yeah.
Very much so, especially looking at their linebacker room. It should have been the linebacker. And how about, like, I mean, you've already got Trey Benson still there. James Conner's still there, coming off injury. Poor old Tyler Algier gets signed by the Cardinals thinking he's finally going to get his shot to be the number 1, because he's always been behind someone else. Now they go and draft a generational talent, and he's back as the 2 again in a whole heap of sharing.
No doubt.
So, pick 4, the Tennessee Titans then, I guess, had to pivot very quickly, and they took wide receiver Carnell Tate, which I think that's a great pick for the Titans. A great pivot is to take the top wide receiver off the board.
Yeah, if you have to pivot, that's a good pivot, and it's going to do nothing but help Cam Ward. So I thought they made the best of that.
Yeah. The Giants with the first of their 2 top 10 picks. Their 1 top 10 pick. No, they're 2 top 10 picks now. Took Arvell Reese, who's the linebacker that we all thought would go in the top 3. So they end up with that great linebacker core. And then, of course, the Chiefs traded up with the Browns. They took Mansour Delaney.
Well, first, let me back up 1. I hate this Giants pick because I think it's a really good pick. And if you had to pick one of the winners of this draft, I hate saying it, but I feel like it would be the Giants. We haven't got to their other pick, but I just thought they did a fantastic job, and they're set themselves up to have some success long term.
I think it's a great. They're amassing a great team. Yeah. And that team, of course, they're still like there'd been that question mark over Kayvon Thibodeau coming into the draft on whether or not they'd trade him for picks, all that kind of stuff. But now you look at it, they've got as a linebacker core, and obviously there's inside, outsides, all the different things. But you got Brian Burns, Arvell Reese, Tremaine Edmonds, Kayvon Thibodeau are you starting for?
Jeez. Yeah.
And then you've got Abdul Carter, Mike McFadden, and a couple other guys behind him. So that's a sensational starting four.
Oh, it's phenomenal because especially because you're getting Reese to, in one sense, replace Dexter Lawrence, not man for man, but you're getting him on that rookie contract. So it gives you so much more flexibility. And I loved Colton Hood, who they picked up in the second round, a cornerback out of Tennessee. So it's just, they're going to be good for a long time. I hate saying it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Go.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually move, either because they've got that depth up front, they probably move him to being that off-ball linebacker and put him in the middle, because they've got Tremaine Edmonds as well. So they can really shore up in the middle.
Yeah.
But then, as I said, the Chiefs traded up with the Browns. The Browns gave up the 6th pick, and the Chiefs gave to the Browns their first, which was the 9th pick. They got a 3rd, they got a 5th. So 974 and 148 for for moving up 3 spots. And then they took Delaney, who I know you were really high on, Brad, when we were talking about him a lot during our Draft-a-Palooza episode and all through the draft stuff earlier this month. The Commanders at 7 took Sonny Styles. I thought for a minute he was going to slide out of the 10 the way we were going.
And I think that was a case of the Commanders just... I was surprised at how much blowback they got for taking him, just in reading different things, because he is a non-premium position at that inside linebacker spot. But the dude's a freak. So to me, I thought it was a decent pick, even though he did get panned quite a bit.
Yep, and then the Saints take Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, at 8. So they go for the second wide receiver. They saw Carnell Tate come off the board and went for Tyson. I love this pick. He really fits for me as a Saints player, with all the tape that I watch. And I just love now that the Saints are really trying to rebuild the right way. I guess now that they're out of their cap hell, they don't owe the most amount of money in the entire league, and they can finally start figuring out how to rebuild properly. The Browns at 9 now take Spencer Fano, the tackle out of Utah.
Jeez.
Nick, what a great pickup for the Browns.
Jeez.
And they moved down, and it seemed like they were probably looking at taking him at 6, but obviously the Chiefs were sort of hell-bent on getting, helping their secondary first. So, ended up being a good pick. I probably would have selected the guy that went after. I would have swapped the picks, but nevertheless, you still get someone that's still going to be pretty good for you.
I just, to me, how often can you trade back and then at the 9th pick still get the best offensive lineman? I mean, we're used to the best offensive lineman going in the top 3 picks, and they get him at 9. So again, along with the Giants, I felt like the Browns won this draft. So
I find that that's the year, Brad. The craziness is there's essentially no premium position. There's nothing. Just the way it was, the way it was set up. There was guys that were premium talent, but they were across so many positions. So it was so varied. The Giants, with their second pick, the one that they got from the Bengals for Sexy Dexy, took Francis Manoa, the guard out of Miami, Florida. We talked a lot about him in the lead-up. Brad, your Dallas Cowboys.
Super Bowl.
Your Dallas Cowboys traded up one with the Miami Dolphins. So in order to move up one, they gave up the 12th and 2 5th-round selections to jump ahead of the Dolphins and take Caleb Downs I know
Dude.
you were very excited about this the other day.
I think my whole neighborhood thought something was happening in our house because I went off my nut on this one. It just, yeah, it was awesome. I was so happy. This is who the number one guy that I wanted, and I'm so excited because Parker, their new DC coming over from Philly, I feel like Christian Parker is just going to do some amazing stuff. And the reality is he's so versatile. He's going to play nickel. You see that most safeties in a Fangio defense always play nickel, and basically are a nickel back, and that's exactly what they needed. So it's just you couldn't have asked for a better situation, in my opinion. And I don't say that very often about the Cowboys, but I thought they hit a home run.
Nick, the Dolphins slide back one and still take Caden Proctor, the tackle out of Alabama. I really like the fact that they went for this need first.
I'm surprised that they ended up doing this trade to get someone that they probably could have gotten a bit further down. Maybe they must have just thought that other teams were in love with the measurable, so that's probably why they only wanted to move down the one spot. But in saying that, there's a lot of upside to this pick, and obviously the most sensible pick in terms of start building in the trenches first, as opposed to some other picks that they did have sort of later on in the draft, which are a bit weird. So at least they sort of got the guy that can start at left tackle next season.
I feel like they would have taken him in an 11 regardless. I think that you feel like that might have been their pick anyway, to take the tackle first.
Yeah.
And in reality, they still got the guy they wanted, and they get 2 extra 5th round picks out of it. So that's easy money to me. Like, that's playing with house money. That's great. That's been a great GM, figuring out that you could do that. The Los Angeles Rams at pick number 13 took the second QB off the board, something that nobody thought would actually happen. I know we mocked it, but I don't think anybody truly thought that Ty Simpson would end up off the board in the first round. But he did, to the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I mentioned earlier Isaac's astonishment at this pick and annoying, just being totally annoyed at his team. It all essentially boiled down to the fact that they took what is very much a non-premium, non-needed position when there are so many more needs on the Rams that they could have used a first-round pick for.
They definitely could have used like a swing tackle or somebody to shore up that O line, but I've read several articles that said McVay and Snead the GM, they both had to agree on this pick. Like, they would not circumvent the other. So even though McVay is Captain Grumpy in his press conference in this,
isn't he what?
Yeah, but I also heard that was kind of out of respect for Stafford. Like, he didn't want to seem super happy or anything like that. I don't know. We can only conjecture. But to me, to all that part aside, I don't know that Ty Simpson is worth that pick at that slot. He's undersized. He's only had 15 starts. He's got a knock on his arm strength. He basically, when he gets pressured, he falls down. And these are the types of things that can only be fixed if you're going to play the game, in my opinion, not sitting on the sidelines holding a clipboard. So I didn't get it.
The only way that this kind of value works out, I think, for them, is if in 5 years, and I say 5 years because that's how we're going to have to wait a couple before he even sees the field as a starter, I think, if he does it all. But if in 5 years he is Brock Purdy, and I use that comp because obviously Brock Purdy, as we mentioned, as you guys talked about, we talked about earlier in the green room, he was Mr. Irrelevant, and that value came there. And I think the only way they're going to see this first round 13th overall pick value is if he is playing at that level in 5 years' time.
Maybe, but I don't know. I feel like I get what you're saying, Brad, about the article that you read, but this is definitely screams Les Snead just trying to plan for the future, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think the extra thinking behind it and the angle that I could maybe see is that two trains of thought probably went through. One is if Matt Stafford with those back issues, that was a real concern 8, 9, 10 months ago, whatever it was. Then probably in the back of Les Snead's mind is like, well, he's getting on. He did win an MVP, but are we going to see that again? Like, what are the chances that that happens again? And if we're as good as we say we are next year, which is, pick that starts with the number 3 as a first round pick, are we going to be able to get that next year? Like, let's say, Matt Stafford has that pullback. So I think it's a little bit more, they plan for the future, and then they've just got this guy as a backup because Matt Stafford's been dinged up a few times with playing for the Rams, and obviously, with obviously Detroit as well. He's getting on. So that's probably the angle that I see. But obviously, I'm probably more so in favor of Sean McVay. You've got the reigning MVP. Arguably, they should have won that game. Well, they could have won that game against Seattle. If they beat that game against Seattle in Seattle, that conference championship game, they win the whole thing. So he's probably thinking, we're on the doorstep. Like, don't worry about that. We'll figure that out afterwards.
Yeah. Look, I find it confusing though. I get the backup thing, and that's where I think it comes to. But I feel like the other QBs that were on boards, they would have made just the same quality backup in later rounds, and you could have picked something more premium here.
Yes.
Like that, you could go for that.
Exactly.
And I get it. Like, no Jimmy Garoppolo anymore. So your backup was coming into this was Stetson Bennett. So you're like, I get what you're saying, Nick. You need to go, what happens if Stafford does get hurt? Who's going to be that backup? And then who's going to be that third? Where do we go from there? So you need somebody. I feel like you could have gone the other way. But also, like, the success McVay has had with veteran quarterbacks to this point, there are guys that would be lining up to play for the Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay once Matt Stafford says he no longer wants to play. He would have his pick of veteran quarterbacks for sure. And I feel like he could have just kept doing that till the end of time, just going the veteran route, grabbing these guys who are 4 or 5 year starters, or and doing what he did with Stafford and all that kind of way. I feel like he could have just gone that route and just kept going that way. But
yeah, it's interesting.
There's so much to it with this pick. There's so much to it.
Oh, absolutely. Because also, apparently, Snead, the GM, is friends with Simpson's dad, who is a college coach. And,
and there was talk about the fact that Les Snead actually talked to him and convinced him to actually, because he wasn't going to. Ty Simpson apparently was tossing up whether he was actually going to elect for the draft this year or go next year. And Snead actually talked to him and said to him, "You should go this year."
Really?
Yeah.
So. Well, with how deep the class is next year and what have you. Again, and we got to get off this, but I just got to say, I don't mind them going with the backup pick. My issue is that it's Ty Simpson. And I don't feel like he's worthy of a number 13 pick. So I get the whole let's go for a backup. I just don't think Ty Simpson was the right pick, irregardless.
All right, pick 14. The Ravens took Vega Ione. It's just down to Vega Ione now, not Olave Vega Ione. Everyone's just gone with Vega, okay? So the guard out of Penn State. 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had Reuben Bain Jr. fall to them at 15, which is a sensational pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I said when I was trying to do my mock that I had no idea who to take at that point because I had Bain coming way off the board before that. Bain, Brad, I don't know whether you've seen it. Nick would have seen it for sure. Bain's walkout after his pick, where they're all walking down the tunnel and they walk past all the insignias and stuff, and usually they all grab the hat and they look in the mirror and they do the little thing and Bain just walked past and grabbed the hat on the way past, didn't stop, didn't look in, just walked out there. And the fact that people have put it, Nick would get the culture reference a bit more, I think, than Brad would, but they've put it to the Bain music now, where he walks out in that, so like Marvel-esque, where he's coming out.
Okay.
They've got it like that he's pissed off, and he's going to be playing pissed off, I guess, and showing up.
I love it.
I love this for the Bucks, and I love this for Todd Bowles because I think he would have been frothing at the mouth as he was watching Ruben Bain just dropping and coming towards them and just going, "Holy shit! Look what we can pick." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Tyson has short arms too, so it's just.
Can we just reference the short arms part? Brad, have you ever measured your arm?
Yeah, but I have no idea. I don't remember what they were, but I have fairly long arms.
So what can anyone remind me, what was Ruben Bain's arm length?
It was like 31, I think, or something like that. So,
so what's that?
Nobody under
30 and 7/8 inch arms.
Okay. Yeah. So, that for a first rounder, that's historically short. Apparently,
I want to put it into some context. I want to measure my arm and go, what is this contextually? Where is it? But I don't have an imperial tape measure, so I can't do 37/8.
Yeah, damn, I don't either here. That would.
But I did see
32,
30 and 7/8, so 31.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I suppose I could grab my tape measure and I could do it in. I could convert it in metric.
So it's what, 2.5 rulers.
Let me grab this. Hang on.
Okay. Press pause. I love this. I'd be curious to know.
I don't even know what my arms are. I don't know any.
You would probably have pretty decent sized arms.
Oh God, shouldn't have stood
I don't even know.
I mean, I don't have my bag.
In saying that though, I don't know. I feel like there is some merit to, if they've got small arms, because you look at sort of Will Campbell, because that was his main thing.
Mm.
So, and he sort of struggled with it. You can sort of struggle with it as a DN as well, like you can an offensive tackle. Like, it's not the be all and end all, but it is something. It's not nothing, but
right. Mm-hmm.
It's not everything.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
All right, I have tape measure. Also, after having my own training tonight, then coming home, having a shower directly after training, then coming straight out to record. Standing up is hard.
Recording them with it when you haven't eaten is hard.
I am 46 years old, and this is hard today.
Yeah.
So, where do we
go?
Tip of finger, Brad?
Yep, tip of finger.
It's the tip of the middle finger.
Yep.
Hard by myself, by the way.
Well, you're just gonna have to do it in segments.
No, is it to shoulder? Is it to the shoulder joint?
I think is it to the underside of your armpit?
Do we measure it to there, do I?
I think so.
No, surely not.
I'm not sure.
Give me a conversion here. So we're going to be 75 centimeters to the
75 centimeters to inches.
Fantastic.
29.52.
See? So there's a... Now, I wouldn't say that I have short arms.
Right.
Matter of fact, I have quite often described myself, and so have others, as being a gorilla. So,
yes.
Now, I have 29-inch arms, and Bain is... So that's 2 inches longer than my arms.
Yeah, so about 5 centimeters longer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ian, are you going up against 6'8" offensive tackles in the NFL?
Yeah.
No, but have you seen Ruben Bain move? Have you seen his tape?
I have seen him move.
That man's arm lengths don't matter shit.
Yeah, and
he's also,
that's the thing.
By the way, when we talk about heights, he's also 6'2", which I am basically 6'2". I'm 6'1.5". So,
That's all you have to do is put on his playoff tape. Look at his playing in January, and the dude was a stud.
Mm.
So, he may not be an all-pro, but I think they got a steal, and it's even better because that dude's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder and want to just ball out.
All right, the Jets at 16 with their pick from the Colts that they got for in the Sauce Gardner trade. They ended up picking up Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end, who fell to them. What a great pickup for the Jets. Odd picks for the Jets though, because I don't think any of us trust the Jets to do anything with any first-round pick. The Lions end up with their tackle. We thought that they would go the big man. We thought that they would go like the aggressive pick, and they get Blake Miller. The Minnesota Vikings at 18 picked Caleb Banks, defensive end, which I can tell you right now, the Minnesota faithful are blowing up about. And there is all this talk about, oh, he's injury prone, when the fact is the guy had a foot injury in college, in training camp for 2025 season. And instead of it was supposed to be a season-ending injury, but instead of just hanging out the boots for the season and just going straight towards the draft and going, don't worry about it, he fought his way back from injury to make sure he played the last 2 games of the season. There's some character there, and then he did hurt his foot again during the combine, but they're kind of, I mean, Nick, they're linemen and foot injuries.
Yes. I suppose it isn't completely nothing. I suppose if you've only had the one injury, though,
Yeah. It was an injury
life.
bad enough that required surgery, but it was
Yeah, but it's not a repeat thing. Like it's not.
No, because it was
not.
actually his other foot that he injured in the combine.
Yeah.
And not bad enough to keep him out past June. That's it. They said he'll be fully healthy in June or by June.
If you knew that you were sort of taking a D tackle, would you have taken Banks over a few of the other guys that were left on the board?
No, I don't know, because I hadn't really looked up a lot about him. But once I did look up his tape again and what he has done, I'm going, that's a pretty solid pick. I could see how he's a Viking. I can see how he's a Brian Flores player, if that makes sense. So, and this is very much a Brian Flores pick, and as it is a draft. When we look at the Vikings total picks all up, it's a very Brian Flores draft, to be honest. The Panthers took Monroe Freeling, the tackle, at 19. Makai Lemon to the Eagles at number 20, which was a whole debacle.
Yeah.
Where Makai, and we've seen all this now, Brad may have seen some of it. The Cowboys were on the clock at 20, and everyone thought that they were going to take the defensive player. So the Steelers were on the phone to Makai Lemon, and then suddenly the Eagles traded with the Cowboys to get up ahead of the Steelers, and were trying to call Makai Lemon, who was on the phone with the Steelers. So they were trying to get through to him to draft him, to tell him they were going to draft him. The Cowboys basically got, what did they get? Green Bay traded a first, selections at 20th, and then they got, what did we get there?
We swapped the first.
Yeah, so there's a swap of the first, and then they got 2 4th-round selections, and then they gave up a 7th. Brad, good value for the Cowboys.
Yeah. No, so they trade 2 fifths to move up 1. They get some to move back. So exactly. Again, this just made me feeling good about the Cowboys and what they did and everything. So yeah.
And Makai Lemon to the Eagles basically seals the AJ Brown fate.
It has to. It has to. And so I love just the whole story behind it, and as much as I hate the Eagles, I loved how they dicked over Pittsburgh. So
the Steelers had to then pivot with only 8 minutes, which apparently they've complained about the fact that was too short then, because they were trying to figure out who to pick next.
Oh,
You're a professional sporting team. You should have had other players on the board that you could instantly pick from. Brad just got the fright of his life from someone at home. So the Steelers got Max Ianachor, the tackle, out of Arizona State. The Los Angeles Chargers, are we surprised that they ended up with a linebacker, Akeem Messidor?
Edge rusher, really. But in a way, not really. I suppose at that point, I think they were just taking, they thought was probably the best guy available. And I think because, Ruben Banks, it's a bit like, Jeremiah Love, and then the running back that Seattle took sort of overshadows because, one was sort of further up the board. It's a bit of the same here. You've got the edge on one side from Miami and then the edge on the other side. So I think Mesidor, his playoff run was pretty good as well, particularly in that championship game. So they did need someone that can help sort of up front as well.
The Cowboys, after sliding back 2, still pick up Malachi Lawrence, Brad, defensive end out of UCF.
I like it. I really do. High upside with this pick, and given yes, he's drafted in the first round, but most teams do not have a first round grade on any of these guys in the back half of the first round. And I think he's gonna give him immediate depth, and he could turn into a quality starter.
The Browns, with their second first-round pick, take KC Concepcion, the wide receiver. That is a really good pick for the Browns, and I hate that he went to the Browns. The Bears, well, Dylan Thieneman still went to an NFC North team, but he ends up to the Bears rather than to the Vikings, which everyone thought he was going to. Houston Texans, can I just say quickly, we're at pick 26. From this point onwards, until the Seattle Seahawks pick at pick 32, not a single pick was made by the team that should have been in that position.
Say that again.
They're all trades. Yeah. From this point onwards, they're all trades.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yep. So, Houston Texans trade up with Buffalo. They give up their first, so they swap their first, 26 and 28. They give a third and a fifth to Buffalo, who give back a 91st as well, a third. So third and a fifth, or swap first round picks, and they get a fifth as well. The Bills, the Texans jump up to take Kalen Rutledge, the guard, out of Georgia Tech. The Dolphins trade back in to the first round with the 49ers. They give the 49ers a first and a third. Is that right? Yes. No.
They give them a
trade
first.
up. Sorry. They trade up from 30th. It's so confusing for me. They trade up from 30th so that the 49ers drop to 30th, and then they also give them a third rounder to trade up so that they could take cornerback Chris Johnson. Jump in if you want to talk about any of these guys, boys.
Yeah, that's fine.
The Patriots jump up from 31 and trade with Buffalo, who were now at 28. So Buffalo had slid back to 28 with their trade with the Texans. And then the Patriots give Buffalo, they swap picks again, and they give them another fourth rounder. So Buffalo were amassing picks at this point, just sliding back. The Pats take Caleb Lomu, the tackle. The Chiefs make their second first-round pick, which came from the Rams a long time ago for the Trent McDuffie trade.
And let me just say about that one, I feel like, again, this is the Chiefs just doing a great job with this draft, because this is the second of their 4 straight defensive picks. And this is like hopefully your Chris Jones replacement, although nobody expects him to be that good. But still, a lot of people had a higher grade on him, so I thought they got great value, and it's just the Chiefs doing the Chiefs, man.
So that's Peter Woods, level. Defensive tackle to the Chiefs. The New York Jets, this is where she gets crazy. So the 49ers were sitting at pick 30. Then the Jets trade back in. The Jets exchange a second and a fifth round selection to the 49ers, and they jump back in to take Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver. So,
the Jets, to me, just drafted really well, just really, really solid. Not amazing, but this is a guy they obviously needed another wide receiver, more weapons, and he's just to me, he's just solid. He's just a solid dude. He's going to be a good number 2 receiver.
Yeah, but it's now, I think everybody in the world is in agreement that the Jets need to prove that they can actually use their first round draft.
Yeah,
yep. Which has been their downfall for many, many years now. Right, so Buffalo Bills, we're at 31 now after trading back twice. Then Tennessee come and offer a trade. So the Buffalo Bills don't make a first round draft pick at all, and they get from Tennessee their second They get a third and a fourth as well. They swap a couple other picks. So the Bills are jumping up the boards in later rounds to move back in this first. The Titans jump in to grab Keldrick Falk, defensive end, who is still there. And at pick number 32 in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks, they just went and did it. Jadarian Price, running back out of Notre Dame, the number 2, and they went and grabbed him.
I love it. Apparently they were trying to trade back, but nobody was going to bite. So to me, it's just a perfect fit. You lose Walker, you get Price. I think Walker's the much better back, but still, Price is an exceptional back. I think they said it's the first time in NFL history that the first 2 running backs taken were on the same team.
So he's obviously he's going to play behind Zach Charbonnet, who's there. So they're likely still going to run that 1-2 tandem.
Yeah, they guaranteed
they will. Charbonnet's going to be the number 1.
Yeah. Well, if he recovers, apparently that hip injury it was a lot worse than what people thought.
Righto. So that's the first round of the draft. We should at this point let's just quickly do a bit of a score check on our Draftapalooza draft mock drafts and our scoring. Now, I want to remind everybody of the rules here. 1 point for a correct pick for the team at that pick. 1 point for the correct player at that pick, and you get 2 bonus points if you happen to correctly pick the team trading into the pick. Now, there are a lot of trades. Nobody got those 2 points. But coming out on top on our draft scoring with 25 points, because obviously with 32 picks and the teams in their list, you start off with 32, and then you basically go backwards, plus adding on your player picks. So 25 points. The winner is Nicholas. Brad.
Oh, I'll take it. Oh, wow. All right.
Brad gets 25. 24 points. Outright second is myself.
Oh, nice. 1 point.
Now, it's just one player, mate. That's the only one that we differed on was a player pick in terms of getting a correct player pick right.
Yeah.
Pick 23, with 23 points, is actually our combined mock draft. Got 23 points. We got 20 teams correct and 3 players correct. That's what we got as a combined team for the GG official mock draft.
Okay.
So we only picked 3 correct players out of 32.
Oops. Ouch.
At that position. Okay? At that position. We have players on the board everywhere. If I go through and do that exercise, I'm pretty sure we picked a lot of players.
Yeah.
Coming in 4th place out of 5 with 22 points. Oh, sorry, I should give an honourable mention to the only person that did send me a mock draft. Manjot got 23 points.
Okay.
So, honourable mention there to Manjot, equal with the G'day Gridiron ones. 22 points. 4th place is Isaac. And that means Nick with 21 is the loser for the 4th year in a row.
The wooden spoon.
Too many trades.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But
Nick's
yours was most entertaining.
Nick's downfall was his trades because he only got 18 teams correct. Now, Nick's trades, if he hadn't done those trades and he went with the same teams the rest of us went with, Nick would have outscored us. He would have outscored you, Brad.
He would have won the whole thing.
He would have won it.
There you go.
But Nick did keep us entertained, and we did all love that Buffalo Bills trade, which absolutely
you know what? I got that
happened.
trade. Bills and Bucks. That's my victory.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Take it.
So that's fantastic, boys. Just quickly, teams who you thought did well and ones that confused you the most.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've talked about it, but I think the Giants did well. The Browns did well. So I really liked what they did. Nick, who'd you like?
Another mention, definitely. It's easy to say because obviously they had the number 1 pick, but the Raiders. I think, they've obviously got best QB out of the class, but Traden Stukes, very good pick. Jamod McCoy, who everyone had in like their top sort of first, at least the first round, at least the pick in the teens, went all the way to I think like the fourth round. So either his legs been, if that legs are concerned, it's either been amputated or I don't know, because if he's healthy, that's probably the steal of the draft. So they shore up, obviously, getting Mendoza for the offense. They've obviously now got Genty and Bowers. They fix up the secondary. So I thought they did very well as well. We spoke about the Giants, the Browns. I hate to say it, but the Chiefs as well. And then they went all defense. Their defense gets stronger, but the players that they picked, they moved up. They got Delaney, who's got the highest upside out of all the corners. Peter Woods, who I probably thought was the first or second best DT. So they can pair him next to Chris Jones. And then Mason Thomas, who they picked up later on, who came out of Oklahoma, who I thought was another good pick as well. So they've really shored up, their defense again. They're ready to make another run.
I gotta say, the team that I thought really is not getting enough criticism is the Cardinals. I personally, I thought they blew it. Taking Love at 3, but the one that really kind of made me go, "What?" is Carson Beck. When they take him in round 3, dude's gonna be a backup. When you draft somebody in the third round, you want a starter. They don't have to be all pro, but you want a contributing player. And Carson Beck is not that dude. So when you take Love, who to me is like even though he's dynamic, you don't have the team around him, and then you take Carson Beck, you've wasted 2 of your first 3 picks, and you've got so many needs on your team. So I just think that was stupid.
I think there's a few crazy players that dropped into the second round that just fell to some teams that didn't have first round picks. Like Avion Terrell ended up with the Falcons.
Yeah.
And that's pick 16 in the second round. Like he fell a long way to get there. That was very surprising.
Yep.
What was the other one I had? Was because Nick already mentioned one of them. Oh, Zion Young was the other one I thought was going to go a lot higher, and he ends up with the Ravens in the second round. So that was wild to me. I just thought he'd be a lot higher. I thought we'd see a lot more edge rushers off the board in the first round.
McNeil Warren as well also went further down. He was like pick 58 or something. He ended up at the Browns. That was a steal for them.
So yeah, I think time will tell whether some of these draft classes for these teams are going to be really good. Obviously, because as we've always said, it's not this year. You can't grade this year on what they've done. You can say whether you think that they've drafted well, like we just have, but in terms of how they flesh out, there were some other ones too. Oh, well, that's actually the other one. Which one did you just say then, Nick? To the Browns?
McNeil Warren.
Yeah, and Denzel Boston above him as well.
Yeah.
I just thought they took 2 wide receivers the Browns did. Concepcion and then Denzel Boston in the second round. So that was odd. And a guy named Justin Jefferson, who's a linebacker out of Alabama. So time will tell how those classes are going to be graded. In coming weeks, we're actually going to do what we do every year, where we go back and look at a previous draft class and have a chat about those. We're up for the 2022 draft class this year. We do basically 3 to 4 years back, because we all strongly believe, you can't grade these players and these teams, how well these teams have done, until these players are getting to that first contract level. That point where that's the point where first rounders are negotiating their first contracts, and where guys that are in the later rounds are basically coming off their first contracts, their rookie contracts. So we're going to tackle that in the next couple of weeks for the 2022 draft class, and we actually decided this time around we are going to grade the teams draft, the 2022 drafts. So the same way you see other media outlets right now giving these teams grades, we're going to grade the teams from 2022 and how well they have done. And
their entire draft, yep.
Yeah, their entire draft from the 2022 draft, because it is always a very, very timely reminder of the 20. Ooh, what year did Russell Wilson get drafted? 2012?
Good question.
2012 or 2011.
2012. So it's a timely reminder of why you don't grade these draft classes immediately after the draft. 2012 grading, and this has been out there in the internet for years, and I put this on Instagram earlier in the week. The 2012 draft class review of the Seattle Seahawks from the Bleacher Report reads, after one of the worst picks in the first round I can ever remember, the Seattle Seahawks didn't draft any positions of need or draft for the future. Pete Carroll is proving why he didn't make it in the NFL the first time around. Not only was Bruce Irvin a reach at number 15, the Seahawks proved they were oblivious to their madness by celebrating their selection. As if the day wasn't bad enough, Seattle selecting Russell Wilson, a QB that doesn't fit their offense at all, was by far the worst move of the draft. With the two worst moves of the draft, Seattle is the only team that received an F on that day.
I love that. Bruce Irvin and Russ Wilson. That's awesome.
That is a timely reminder of why we don't do that.
Oh, that's good. That's exactly right. Yeah, it takes years for it to mature. It's a fine wine.
Yes, it is like a fine wine. I do also I had it up earlier, but there's that same draft that they rated as an F. And by the way, like Bleacher Report, come on, everybody was smacking him around for this dumb F grade years in the future. So that was 2012. In 2018, they quietly updated all their draft reviews for that year and their grading for that Seattle Seahawks draft class. And that's the only one you can actually find on the internet that is officially from the Bleacher Report and not just screen grabs that people have taken, because the internet never forgets, Bleacher.
Yep.
Because just a reminder, other notable players the Seattle Seahawks drafted in that draft class: Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Robert Turbin.
I love this.
And this is why 3 to 4 years later is the perfect time to grade these teams. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do that. Manjot, I'm talking to Manjot now. Manjot is hopefully going to jump onto us. As an OG of G'day Gridiron, he and I came up with that concept many years ago. Brad came in with us for the first one, and we've been doing this for the past 5 years now. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through. We change it a little bit every year while we're trying to find the best way to actually do that. I'm really hoping that this way, in terms of rating the team's draft class for that year, is going to be the best way. We'll find out, but you can come right along with us. We'll probably be talking a lot more about some of these teams and who they've drafted in the coming weeks as well, as we go through some other sort of pertinent questions that we had coming out of the draft, like who might be a steal for a team, which players slid more than we expected, all those kind of things. We're also going to start doing a couple of reviews of some select teams, some deep dives into some teams and what they can do with all these brand new players and some superstars, future superstars that are on their roster. So look out for all of that. You can find anything information-wise about us on our socials at G'day Gridiron, absolutely everywhere. Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network will get you the links to everybody. Matty C has been doing some write-ups for Substack as part of the AGN and the Aussie NFL Super Coach. Oh, sorry, boys, I still can't get the handle right because I'm an idiot.
That's all right.
Aussie NFL Super Coach show. So if you want to read any of that stuff, you can go to our link tree, go to the Substack, and subscribe to that as well, and read some of these awesome fantasy write-ups that Matty C's been doing in what little time that man has in his life. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. We will see you probably next week at this point. Bye-bye.